Welcome, everyone. It is 2:30, so I know there's some people coming in from the waiting room, but let's get started. I want to be very respectful of your time that you're taking to be here with us today. Um, Today, we will be working on identifying English language learners and multilingual students and finding resources for them. I noticed that the note catcher we're going to be using today seems to have an issue. So let me just pause here for a moment and see if I can get that taken care of for us. Okay, sorry about that. Let's get started. So today we are going to be working on identifying English language learners and multilingual students and finding resources for this student. And our presentation today is being presented by Self Consulting and Tail Academy. This presentation is being recorded today. So you are being recorded if your camera is on. I respect if you feel that you do not want to be on camera today being recorded, and you are free to leave your camera off. But it is nice to see some smiling faces out there. So if anybody's comfortable having their camera on, I'd love to see your faces. My name is Maura Musso, and I will be your presenter today. I am an instructional consultant with Self Consulting, and I'm an early childhood and childhood education professor at SUNY New Paltz. I'm also a New York State certified K-6 teacher and K-12 literacy specialist. I've had experience teaching students from preschoolers all the way through adult learners, and I'm happy to be here with you today. So just some norms for our meeting today. I said I was respectful of your time, and I'm going to stick with this one of starting and ending on time. In fact, I will try to end our time a little bit early, about 5 minutes early or so, because at the end, I will ask for some of your feedback on this presentation and give you a link to just fill out a quick form on that. So I will give you 5 minutes to do that at the end within our hour together. During our time together today, I would love you to really take an inquiry stance and be here now. I assume that you're here because you are working with English language learners or multi-language learners, and that you are looking for ideas and things for your class. So I invite you to really come to what we're doing today with your own teaching situation in mind, your own students, with your own classroom, your own school in mind, and think about how the information I'm presenting to you today and sharing with you today will impact you, can impact you, things that you can take and bring into your classroom and for your students. So let's just get started. There's a whole bunch of us here today, and I know that. So please in the chat, just take a moment, type in who you are, your name, the grade or grades that you teach or subjects that you teach. And then, since we're going to be talking about English language learners today, what are some of the home languages of the students that are in your classroom that you are working with? So seeing some math, science, 6th grade. teachers from all across. So many languages popping through here. Spanish, Chinese, Bengali. Can't even scroll as fast as you guys are typing in there. Mainly Spanish. Some principals with us today. So many different languages. Universal pre-K, so many different grade levels, content areas, languages. According to New York State Department of Education, there are 151 languages spoken by students and families in the New York State school system. And we're seeing lots of them represented here, scrolling through in our chat. The top 3 in New York State public schools are Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic right now. And I'm seeing that represented in our chat as well today. So again, I invite you to, during this time, I'm going to be sharing lots of information with you to really think about these students that you're interacting with in your classroom on a day-to-day basis, and how this information that we are sharing with you today can help you impact those learners. So our objectives for today are going to be to first identify the different backgrounds of our multilingual learners and how those backgrounds can impact their learning. We're going to look at the different language proficiency levels shared by the state and take a look at how those impact us as teachers and how we're working with our ELLs and MLs. And then we're going to close with a very detailed Padlet of lots of different resources that you could bring into your classroom and use with your classroom. And I'm going to invite you to participate in some breakout rooms by looking at just a little piece of this wealth of information and thinking about your students. I have a note catcher for you today that you can be working with. And this is a place for you to keep track of what catches your attention. Of course, you can do this on any documents and anything that you want to. Take your own notes however you want. This is not something I'm collecting back from you. So I invite you to really just keep track again of what catches your attention, what sticks out to you in your role as a teacher, because I will be presenting so much information to you. I want you to really focus on yourself and your students. So today we're going to start by looking at some research. Then we're going to think about how we get to know our students and how we identify our students in terms of their needs as English language learners. And then we'll end with extending this by looking at instructional resources and how they apply to our students. So today we're going to be using a shared note catcher, and I will put that for you in the chat that you can work with. It will force you to make a copy of this so that you're not all writing over each other. And we'll use this later in breakout rooms as well.
Maura, I'm still having the access denied issue on the note catcher. Could you just change the sharing settings one more time?
I will try again. Yes, I don't know why that's happening. It says it's set to share.
Same issue.
Okay, hold for a second and let's see what I can do here. Wonder why that is happening. Hold on, I'm gonna have to drop right out of this. Sorry, technology is not always my friend. right, I created a totally new one. Let's see if this one works for you.
Yes, this one works. I'm going to send this link.
Thank you.
So if you're on that link, you can just close out of it. And I'm going to send the new one to everybody.
I apologize for that. I don't know why I didn't like that first one. Okay, so again, this note catcher, I have some of the links and some of the things we're going to be working on today is already in there for you, but it's a place for you to gather some information, things that stand out from you and some of the activities we'll be working on today as well. So before we jump in, you may not know that New York State has a wealth of resources available to you to help you support your English language learners and your multilingual learners. This link is in our note catcher, but this is a wealth of information, lots of details on how to support you with this. The one thing I want to point out to you, though, although this has a lot of information, there is no typical multi-language learner or English language learner. They're all individuals, and no one thing is going to work for all students. So the way New York State looks at our English language learners is we divide them, they're divided into different levels of where they fit, depending upon their proficiency with English as their spoken language, as their written language. So you'll see them referred to in these different categories, some key terms. So I don't want to spend too much time reading all of these to you, but I do want you to think about, again, those students that you're working with, where they might fit in this. So we have first our newcomers who have been with us in English speaking schools for 3 years or less. Then we have our developing ELLs, our students who have had services for 4 to 6 years. Then our long-term ELLs who have had services for at least 6 years, but still continue to require services. Then New York State also divides these into further subcategories. We have our ELL students that have documented disabilities, that they are eligible for special education services. We have students who have interrupted formal education. These are our English language learners who, upon coming to the US and English speaking schools, they've only been within the school system for less than a year, and they are 2 or more years below grade level in literacy in both their home language. And then they are also below grade level, of course, in English. And then we have our former ELLs, who they were originally identified as an ML or an L, and they met the criteria. So you'll see within the resources that the state is providing you to support our students, these different key terms. And it's important to think about where your students fit on this continuum. So let's think about this, our students, for a moment. And I just want you to think, I don't want you to have to answer these questions, but thinking about your students, how confident would you feel if you were put on the spot? If your administrator came in and asked these questions of you, would you feel super confident, thumbs up, that you would correctly answer the question? Would you feel meh to the side? Or, yeah, I don't think I would hope they wouldn't ask me these questions. So you can either, put in the chat as I ask them to you, the way your thumbs would go. You could hold them up if your camera is on, and we'll just think about this. So if your administrator walked in and said, hey, how many students in your current class right now are ELL or ML? How would you feel about getting the exact correct answer to that? Off the top of your head, exact perfect number. So would you feel thumbs up? Yeah, no way, please don't ask me that question, or I'd be pretty close. Okay, seeing a lot of middles coming through. Some going to percentages, 80%, middles, thumbs up. Some people really know the numbers of their students, and it's probably the answer to that question of how many really depends upon how many students we have in our classroom. If you're in a class of 25, it might be easier than if you're teaching, 100 students in a content area. So I see lots of thumbs up, some middles popping up. How about if your administrator came in and said, can you give me a list of the languages your students speak? How would you feel? Thumbs up, thumbs to the side, or thumbs down about that one, saying, yep, so here are my students and here are their home languages that they're coming from. Looks like people are feeling more comfortable with that one. A lot of thumbs up. Okay. How about if they came in and said to you what countries they or their families come from? How would you feel about that question? Would you feel like, yeah, I can name those countries. I know exactly where all my students come from. All right, thumbs up for all three. We're seeing lots of thumbs up. So we know our students. And this is really an important piece of really knowing our students, just like we need to know all of our students that are in our classroom and as much as we can about their backgrounds, so we can meet them where they are and take them to the next level, which is our job as teachers. So with our English language learners and our multilingual learners, this is equally important that we know their backgrounds. We know how many students we're thinking about. We know which languages they speak at home and what countries they come from. So this is important. Something to think about with this, many teachers don't know this. They don't know where their students are coming from. Educators talk about the importance of culturally responsive pedagogy, but teachers can't enact such pedagogy if they don't collect information about who their students are, about the languages they speak, their cultural practices, their experiences, and what they already know. We want to build on this. So the state has helped with this by providing an interview that we may want to look at in getting to know our students. And so this is in that original link. This is on your note catcher for you to look into, where you can just kind of some questions to get background for your students, and then a rationale as to why. Why would we need to know as an educator? Why as a teacher would I need to know this information? How can this help me inform my instruction? And then a place for you to record some of your some of the feedback that you get. So this is something that you might think about using at the beginning of the school year as you're getting new or anytime throughout the year as you are getting new students. So as we're talking about getting to know our students, I want to do a little activity here, looking at a case study of an English language learner. In order to help our English language learners develop English proficiency, we really need to know their linguistic backgrounds, how they use language, their home language especially, and what they know about how language works. So I'm going to read you a case study of a student named Zhang. And he is a bilingual student who is developing English language proficiency right now. On your note catcher, I have a table set up for you. As you hear his story, I'd like you to take some notes about what might be affecting his language learning, so his English language learning, what might be affecting his academic achievement, and when and where he might be able to draw on the full features of his linguistic repertoire, so what he already knows in his home language. After we hear about Zhang and we talk and we take our own individual notes, I'm going to invite you to share your thoughts on him. So Zhang is a 13-year-old who immigrated to the US from China at the end of 5th grade. He is a newcomer English language learner in a standalone English as a new language class. He attends a large urban middle school. When he arrived from China, his teachers found him to be quiet and reserved. He had taken some English at his school in China, yet he struggled to understand all but very simple words, and he looked to Mandarin-speaking peers to help him communicate. In the last 2 years, his teachers have invited Zhang to use whatever language he feels most comfortable with to help him accomplish his classroom activities. And he has come out of his shell, and he's even begun experimenting with more English. Inviting Zhang to use Mandarin to accomplish his classroom tasks also alerted teachers to his well-developed academic abilities in the language. He can write whole stories and essays with ease in his native language, and he often reads novels in the language. Teachers encourage Zhang's participation and continued academic growth by using web-based translation software to communicate their prompts and their questions in his subject area classes. He also uses the web-based translation software on class computer when he is responding to class tasks, particularly or wholly in Mandarin, and he translates them. His teachers use Chinese language texts, videos, and peers in the class to support him as his English proficiency develops. Now he does not shy away from speaking to classmates and teachers, even in English. He has also developed a great sense of confidence, and at the end of 6th grade, he stood up in front of the class and gave a presentation. So thinking about Zhang, what do you see? What do you notice that was going on with him in his 5th grade class and 6th grade class that you might be doing with some of your ELLs in your classroom? You can either come off of mute and just speak to us, or you can type, feel free to type in the chat. So I see that Samantha's using peer language support, and she sees that that's helpful for her students. Hillary's translating materials. Oh, they're going really fast for me now. Providing text in native language, web-based translations. So lots of some of the same things that I see that you're doing in your classroom, tapping into his home language skills. So what of these things might be affecting his language learning and academic achievement? What are some things that he already knows in his repertoire that are helping him to be able to transition to English? Translanguaging, using Google Translate, translating peer translation. Great, these are some great things. Focusing on home language to ensure he's learning content, then letting him use translation tools. Welcoming his home language, using Google Translate, reading novels and computers, skills. Yeah, these are great things that I see that you're noticing there. Visual cues are really big. Yes, awesome. Okay. So are there any connections you can make between any particular students that you have in your mind from your classes that stand out to you when you're hearing about Zhang? Does they ring a bell as, yes, I have a student like that. I have multiple students like that, and I'm trying, like his teachers were trying, to do my best to to find the materials. Lots of yeses out there. And, we never know, they couldn't ask us as teachers to be able to learn all of these languages of 151 languages of students just in New York State. So we'll never be proficient in all of these languages to be able to support them. So these are great suggestions. Peer translator, one-on-one help is awesome if you can get that. I love that Cindy said building student confidence, right? And that's what we're seeing really happened here to Zhang with all of these supports that his teachers were giving him, and showing him and letting him see, wow, I'm really a smart person. Look what I can do in my native language. Now let me, as I learn this new language, apply all of that I already know. That takes some of that pressure off of our ELLs that feel like less than because of the language barrier. And so building this student confidence gives them something they can work off of, and makes them feel like, yes, I can. I have this ability to move forward. So that's very key. Letting them know it's okay to use their first language, right? That's something that in the past was frowned upon in schools, that we wanted to force them into English all the time so that they were able to use it more often. The thought being that the more they're speaking in English, the more they're interacting in English, the quicker they're going to learn it. And our experience and research has proven that that's not the effective way of doing this with our students, that we need to let them use their language, make mistakes, do translating, think in their language, and then, apply to English. So great things. I see wonderful things in the chat that people are currently doing and thinking about. So what we need to do with our students is understand where they are so we can, again, meet them where they are and bring them to the next level. So once teachers become familiar with the linguistics backgrounds of their students, once we see what they can be doing in their home languages, we can then begin to assess where they are on the continuum of language proficiency. Language proficiency, as defined by New York State, is based on their ability to understand the English language, to speak it, to read and write, both for conversational and academic purposes. So let's take a look at what this means according to the state. So our L's and MLs are assessed and then leveled at a different proficiency level. And this influences our teaching. This should be influencing the way we're thinking of how we're going to teach them. So again, I'm not going to read you all of the levels. This is for you in your note catcher and as part of that linked document. But basically, they are assessed as either entering, emerging, transitioning, where they're showing some independence to getting to academic language, expanding, where they're really getting into being able to speak and understand academic language, commanding, and where they're getting proficient in the English language. So once we see where they fall on this continuum, we can look at ways in which to teach them. So what we're going to be doing with them in our classrooms. So this is from the New York State ESL Language Achievement Test. These are some of the performance level descriptions. Again, this is in the note catcher for you. So I just want to take a minute and talk about it for you. So this starts with the claim, the statements, the objective of what students should be able to do. So in this case, this is the listening assessment that our students can determine information in grade level spoken discourse. Then they go into what the anchor standard is for the grade levels. Then this is what the assessment is measuring for them specifically. So these are called the TOMs, the targets of measurement. And each test question on the New York State ESL language achievement test reflects one specific standards-based target. And then it's broken down how each level can demonstrate mastery. So, and we're looking for where the students are. So if they're entering for this claim, this anchor standard, they're able to do what's described in this category. If they're emerging here, transitioning, and this will help us determine for each area where they're falling. In your school, this may be done by your TESOL teacher, and then you get this reported back to you as a classroom teacher. If you are the TESOL teacher, you will probably be the one doing this for the teachers in the school. Then this is aligned to our standards. So we're always coming back to our Common Core next generation learning standards. And so we then can look at what the anchor standards are, what the grade level standards are, what's the academic demands are, and then how this is going to fit both their comprehension, their receptive language, their comprehension over here where they're going to fall, how it will fit with their listening and their ability to read, their decoding, all in there. And then this also links how we should be thinking about what language they should be using. So should they be working in their new language or their home language, or where should they be focusing on their new language in English? And so again, this is linked for you in the note catcher that you have this to work from. I talked through that without clicking, sorry. New York State also provides different rubrics for assessing reading proficiency, speaking proficiency, listening proficiency. And these can go along kind of with your running records, with your guided reading conversations, with your conferencing, that you can be doing these as a classroom teacher to get your own understanding, to build upon that background information you may have been given by your TESOL. And again, this is just more rubrics for standards for where they will fall at the various reading levels. So what it would look like for you know, all of these different associations of language. So the state is providing for you a wealth of information that you can use to build upon for the students in your classes. And different areas to focus on: the complexity, the coherence of their responses, the areas that you should be thinking about as you are working with your ELLs and MLs. So what I would like to do next is I'm going to send you out to talk with some of your peers. There's so many of us here in whole group, it's really hard to share. So I'm going to put you into smaller groups. And there's a Padlet that is linked on your note catcher for you that I want you to take a look at. And I'll just bring it up here really quickly to kind of talk you through it, because it is quite in depth. So for this, what I would like you to do is just scroll through the Padlet. There's all different categories here, and choose one that just don't spend too much time on this, because we're not going to spend a lot of time in breakout rooms. But just what's the one that really quickly stands out and grabs you, that you're like, yes, this, thinking of my students in my class that I am working with, this is what I would like to think about. And then what I'd like you to do, oh, it's not going back, hold on. Oh, technology fail number 2. What a day. All right, it's coming now. There we go. So then what I'd like you to do is on your note catcher, take some notes to yourself. So spend first 4 to 5 minutes just reviewing that resource that you choose off the Padlet. Then write some notes down. And then when you get to your breakout room, when you're talk with the people in your breakout room about what did you see? What stood out to you? In teaching, as you all know, right, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to spend time in that. What your colleague across the hall or in a neighboring school might be doing might be exactly what you need for your students. So I want you to have time to really talk and say, yes, this is what I looked at. This is the resource I was thinking about, and why you're thinking about that resource. Why did that grab your attention? How do you think you're going to apply that in your classroom? And then see what your colleagues are saying as well. And you may want to take notes on what your colleagues in your breakout rooms are thinking about as well. So we're going to spend about, I'm thinking it'll take you about 4 to 5 minutes to just review the resource for yourself. And then maybe another 10 minutes of chatting with your colleagues in the breakout room. So we'll spend about 15 minutes in our breakout rooms individually. So oh yes, go ahead.
The Padlet isn't working, Ms. Musso.
Oh,
The link that you have in your presentation, can you post it in the chat?
I will post it on the chat. Oh,
thank you.
3 technology fails in one day. That is all right, let's see. Hold on. That's a record. That's a record. Let's go in the chat. Let's see if this one works for everyone. All right, can someone just try that and see if that one opens? Yep, good, thank you. All right, let's go.
Yes, that one works, thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Right, so I am gonna send you out to some breakout rooms here. And then I will give you about a 1-minute warning for when we're going to come back so that you can finish your thought. Okay, and let's get to, so there'll be about, let's get to where there's about 5 of you. There we go. All right, so you're going to get a pop-up on your screen that asks you to join the breakout room. If you have a problem, you can't get out of this room, just let us know, and we can help you get there. Okay. All right. And I'll welcome you back shortly. If anyone needs help getting to their breakout room, just let us know and we can help you.
Audrey, I see you said it kicked you back to the main. Let me try sending you another invitation. I'm back in the main too. Okay, let me send you another invitation as well, Nick.
Thanks.
No problem.
I'm back. I
Back again. What is going on?
don't know.
It's a Monday. Let
Oh
me
my
try.
gosh.
Okay, try again.
Good luck.
Technology is not my friend today.
You're just joining us. We're currently in breakout room, so I'm going to assign you to a room.
Welcome back. We'll just give a little bit of time for the people still finishing up in their breakout rooms to finish up. We'll get everybody back. All right, it looks like most are back from their breakout rooms. Welcome back. Anything that you would like to share that occurred during your conversations with your colleagues that stood out to you from the resources? We could take a moment or so to share anything particular that was relevant to you. You can either type in the chat or come on off of mute and share with us.
I would like to say that I chose the Google Translate. I think it was the Padlet for technology for for ELLs, and it brought me to Google Translate, which I feel sometimes it is helpful, but a lot of times it skews the actual language, and the kids have a hard time trying to communicate with us because the language that's in Google Translate is not really equivalent to their home language. And that's a hindrance. I feel like there should be more technology or more resources technology-wise to help the kids actually be able to translate what it is, or help us translate, especially for our beginner ELLs who speak no English. It's kind of hard to create lessons and make plans for them if we don't have accurate devices that translate what they're saying to us. So for me, that's a big issue. And that's it.
Yeah. I am in complete agreement that more technology is needed to help us support. Does anyone who's using Google Translate have ways that they work around that or are able to compensate for that in their classrooms?
Well, I have two students in my class who use Google Translate, and we actually screenshot the document that the teacher is using for the lesson, and it will translate into their language, and I sit next to them and we do the whole assignment. So it becomes very useful for them versus the computer only, where they don't really get to screenshot the exact lesson or what might necessarily be on the board to assist in them understanding the lesson that's being taught for the day, the week, or the month.
Yes. Yeah. Bringing in that real human assist with the technology, could be a way to get around that. And so until technology is there for us completely and fully, extra supports, extra one-on-one contact supports are needed. So now as we get to come to a close, I want you to just think about to yourself what you can commit to and in next steps, maybe even small baby steps of doing for your ELLs and MLs going forward in the next days, weeks, rest of the school year. What can you think of that you want to, yes, I've been doing this great. I see this being supported by like what my colleagues are saying. I'm going to keep doing this. I want to remember to keep doing this. What are you going to start doing? What are you thinking? Oh, I should stop doing that. Is there anything you want to do more of and anything you want to do less of? So as you leave today, I want you to think about this kind of starfish model of where you can go, the steps you can go take forward in your helping of your students. One tool that we have available for you here is we have other courses available for you in terms of focusing on your ELL and ML students. So right now you are here in course B, identifying ELL and ML students and finding resources. We have these three other courses available to you, course A, C, and D. They're not really built one upon another. You can go out of order. So if any of these other topics look like something that might be helpful for you, I would like to invite you to participate in them, to sign up for them going forward. And as we come to a close, I'd like to thank you for your time today. and ask that you provide some feedback on our presentation for you. So hopefully this one works now. In the chat, I'm going to put a link to a form for you. That is a quick Google form. If you could just fill that out and give us some feedback on how our presentation went. I love to see that to inform my instruction as well. So I really am very thankful to have you all here today. Your great feedback in the chat and chatting with you. And I would love to see you again at a future PD.